Yes, of course. So Gorkana is, as Dean mentioned, is a leading provider to the PR and marketing community. And I guess what that specifically means is we have a number of solutions that help PRs and marketers send their content and send their press releases to the correct target audience, monitor where they're being mentioned in social, mainstream, and broadcast media, and then analyze and understand what's going on, but also how they can change their strategy going forward. So we're a key tool to the kind of full workflow of the PR marketing process, and obviously strong in social media as well as mainstream broadcast media. But based in London, but we've also got offices in New York as well. So we work on both sides of the Atlantic, as well as having a big focus in Europe.
Great. So how did your business start to use Salesforce? How did that link to how your business runs?
Yeah, so we've grown through acquisition over the last 3 years. So we've had 2 significant acquisitions starting in 2009 and one in 2010. Which has brought together these kind of 3 leading services. And I guess the initial focus really was about giving us better visibility of the sales opportunities across the business, but also having a consistent platform across the 3 businesses that came together to understand where the sales opportunities were. So it's very much about a pipeline management tool than it was about having a full view of our customers. That absolutely wasn't the initial focus. And what that really meant in real terms is we took the information off the 3 or 4 back office systems that we used, and particularly our pipeline systems that we had, and we imported that information into Salesforce, and then obviously required our sales guys to use it as a sales pipeline tool. Because the big downside of that is that the data went out of date the day we uploaded it, and that really drove to a really bad adoption, I'd say, for the sales team. So we didn't have that mantra of if it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. The sales guys had no better visibility of our relationship with customers, who was meeting customers, and it really was a tool that sat outside every other system, and so people were also required to fill in more than one system with the same information. And this was possibly for about 8 months, and I guess as the months dragged on, the usage got less and less, and there was less belief in it having any benefit to the business.
That's not an uncommon issue. And what was the original layout? How was it originally placed? We've got a diagram here showing how you were bringing in the data in Salesforce. So why was this a problem?
Yeah, so this was the original format that we used. So the inputs, there obviously are what we call our systems, but basically the information was captured in our customer systems. Our customer systems in each of the organizations were also our production systems, so they weren't CRM systems at all. We took all the information that we thought was relevant from those live systems. We did a lot of manual work behind the scenes to try and bring some of that information together from a single customer perspective, and then we pushed that into Salesforce. What I would say is that manual process literally was a manual process of people sitting down looking at accounts. So there was with hindsight a huge amount of error and issues with that, and it was also massively time consuming. And as I said, it went out the day that it went live. We also only moved across a very small number of contacts. So we only moved across the contacts within live opportunities. So actually, in terms of going out and trying to cross-sell any opportunities, none of that information sat within Salesforce. And so the piece on the right-hand side of the slide with the additional inputs was some of the work that we did to try and address that, and that was really forcing in, I guess, some contact data we had, but we were holding contact data in databases as well, offline databases as well as the customer bases that linked on there. So it was very much trying to get Salesforce as a tool that would be useful from a reporting pipeline perspective, without a lot of consideration of what would be useful from the business, both in terms of from a sales perspective, but also in terms of a marketing or a customer retention perspective.
Take us through through the type of accounts that you're dealing with. So your business objective was to get a single customer view, but who are your main customers? Who are you interacting with?
Yeah, so our customers are PR professionals or marketers, and that's either in-house, so corporate PRs or marketers, or through agencies, so PR agencies and marketing agencies, creative agencies. And I guess that adds an added confusion to some of our data. So actually, one of the problems we had with the whole project was as soon as we kind of looked under the bonnet of what our data looked like, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of inherent internal knowledge about how our business sat together, as opposed to it being available through the data sets that we had. So we service customers either directly, or we service some of the corporate organizations through agencies. And so there is in some cases relationships there through effectively through a supplier chain. And so it was confusing in that respect. And then obviously we could have customers buying across each piece of the business and different products within each pieces of the business, and that was our challenge. And that was very much what we were trying to address with the trying to get that one business approach. And as I've got there, it was absolutely the case that one of our account directors could be looking after an account, but actually to understand what was going on with that account may need to speak to 5 or 6 people on 5 or 6, or as I said there, 10 databases, just to get the full picture of that information. And a lot of that information, you'd need to ask the right people to find that. So it was very much about having one system, so the account director can, anytime they have a contact with one of our clients, they can have a contact where they've got the knowledge and intelligence to talk about what the client's actually experiencing with us, whether and what recent meetings they've had. So it was about driving those efficiencies. That was a real desire, but the mapping of the data was particularly complex for us.
Now your business is based on reputation and that relationship, building relationships with your customers. Now, what sort of problems were your end users or your salespeople suffering from if they then had to go to 10 different places to find that customer information?
Yeah, I think one of the key sort of standouts, I guess, USPs for us as an organisation is our relationship with our customers, but also the relationship we build with the community we build with PR professionals, marketing professionals, and bloggers and journalists, and that excellence in customer service is one of the key pieces that has been, I would say, consistent with the 3 businesses as we came together. Unfortunately, when you bring 3 businesses together, you're bringing in obviously a lot of sort of cultural changes. You're bringing in a lot of different workflow practices, and although that's a challenge from a company perspective, from a customer perspective, it's not of great interest. And so the real challenge we had was being able to speak to customers, knowing which parts of the business the previous 3 businesses they'd bought services from, whether they had any issues, who they were meeting from those 3 parts of the businesses, and how we were servicing, what the issues or what solutions they wanted or needed, or conversations we'd had with them in the past, and how much they were paying for those services. So really having the ability to have those conversations, and without that sort of central point of all that information, what you really have is you have the issues where people will contact a customer perhaps the day after somebody else has contacted the customer, and nobody will know that, or customers will phone in asking information about a product we won't know they have, or people phone up about billing or contracts and we won't know the details of that. So it really means that the salespeople and the account management teams, so all customer-facing teams, are going in very blind, and the conversation is being very much led by the customer in respect to them having to kind of try and pre-guess what the questions might be to try and find that information. So it very much puts us on the back foot and makes the conversation very cumbersome for, I think, the customer and for ourselves, and really moves away from that customer experience, which really, as I said, was key to each part of the business individually, and coming together it really is a USP of ours now, and we were very keen to maintain that. There is also one other piece, which is about the business. Obviously, when you bring three businesses together, you want everybody to feel like they belong for the same business and we're all working towards the same goals. And so actually having one consistent system that everybody gets the same information from, I think is an important internal piece when you go through that acquisition as well. And then, I mean, just the other points I put on there is about trusted data and driving Salesforce adoption. But it's also about us being able to recognize opportunity, us being able to react quickly to opportunities, and that trusted point is a key aspect, because it was only really when we did the adoption that we could then finally say if it isn't in Salesforce, it doesn't exist, and that obviously is one of the big things that drives adoption in Salesforce.
Great. So that takes us quite nicely onto the solution and how you solve that. So we talked about getting the data into Salesforce in the first place, so linking to your back office systems. But then once it made it into Salesforce, how you would ensure that there were no duplicates being created and you got that consolidation of all that data into one single customer view. Can you take us through the process, take us through the connections and where Informatica Cloud fitted in?
Of course. What this diagram is showing is obviously the data flow, if you like. What we did is we moved the data from our back office systems into an Oracle database, which we manage in-house. The reason we did that is because we're still making quite a lot of changes to the back office systems, because as I mentioned before, they're also our production systems, and we were quite keen that we moved the information from a stable environment into Salesforce. So we did actually use Informatica to link two of those databases into our Oracle database. Two we could feed because of some of the previous work that we'd done. So the first piece was to move everything into that stable environment, which is what we did, and then we moved that information from the Oracle database is literally a data warehouse of a lot of fairly unconnected information, and then we moved that and transformed that so we have one single view. So bring the data together across those four. There's actually 5 systems. We've brought data together across 5 systems, so you get one view. So now, if you go and look at one of our customers, you'll see exactly what that customer takes from us across the whole business, rather than 5 versions of that. Obviously, what we needed to do during that process was do quite a big piece of deduplication, and I guess the most complicated piece of that was the contacts, because it wouldn't be unfeasible to have 5 or 6 records with the same contact going into Salesforce through the back office systems. And so we have transferred the data through Informatica. It goes into Salesforce. I'm not sure technically exactly how it works, but it goes into Salesforce, and obviously using the data scout solution, we then find duplicate records, which we have set parameters on to allow us to recognize duplicates, which we then merge together, and then that information is fed back into the data warehouse, so we don't have an upload of duplicate data every evening, which is when we do our run. So it effectively gives us clean data.
Salesforce org. Sorry to interrupt you, but you're deduplicating in your Salesforce org and then taking back that clean data and sending it back to your source systems as well. So you're essentially cleaning both systems at the same time.
We're cleaning effectively the data warehouse rather than the full back office system. So the data warehouse is holding cleaner product, because we're using unique identifiers which we're pulling back from Salesforce once effectively it's been the data has been merged using your solution.
So that means your end users just have to go into Salesforce to see everything they need to know about their customers. They don't have to go back to their source systems any longer.
No, absolutely. So from a customer perspective, from as in my customers, so from our customer-facing staff perspective, what they do is they can go into Salesforce, be very confident that if they look at an account, they're looking at the account and understanding how that links to any other accounts or any other bits of business we have across the organisation. They can also look at obviously everything you can in Salesforce, but significantly a clean database of the contacts linked to that account. And that also means that from a marketing perspective, we can be much more targeted with the type of content that we are communicating with our customers for. So it gives us very quick access to clean data, which is obviously what's our main objective was, so that we could fulfill a lot of what we were trying to do.
Now, I know
the
hierarchies
other two bits
are
on there.
very important. Sorry, go on. The other aspect of what you're working on is hierarchies are pretty important with getting that single view of a customer, particularly since your business interacts with many parts of an organization. So tell me about how this has helped your sales and marketing teams get that single view and sort of know the difference between the various elements that they're interacting with.
Yeah, well, I think the challenge for us is depending on the, and I'm sure this is the case for a lot of companies, but depending on the organization, the buying, and particularly B2B problem, but the buying structure within an organization can be very different from one organization to another. And so we have some customers where who buy our product at a corporate level, or maybe global level, and we have customers who will buy it at a divisional or regional level. And understanding those interactions and how those products sit across those businesses, and therefore understanding their buying process is a key thing for us to be able to drive revenue and recognize cross-sell and upsell opportunities. And so we have, within Salesforce, we have a hierarchy tool which allows us to see any interaction. So it could be a global organization, we'd have as an account, but then within that global organization, as a child of those, we can have a visual view of the other accounts that we're working for, who those contacts are within the account, what products they're taking, how they interact with the products at a global level. So effectively allows us to build a map of that organization, and therefore build quite a lot of intelligence in terms of how their buying works. And we obviously use that in how we approach our customers. So that was a key part, but because of the sort of reseller style program we have through the agencies that we work with, it's also interesting to know how those agencies sit together and how some of the corporate accounts that we service actually sit under agencies and making those links. So our data is quite interlinked, and seeing those connections is very key to who we communicate and what we communicate to them.
Great. So what's next for Gorkana?
So I think we've achieved a lot of what we set out at the first stage, but if I'm totally honest, I wouldn't say it was a full CRM system. We have a lot of customer-facing staff who currently don't have access because of the nature of what their role is. I think the next stage for us is very much making sure that Salesforce delivers to our business objectives, and rather than us being slightly slave to the way we've implemented Salesforce. So we built a lot of momentum in this stage of the project that we did. We want to continue that momentum, but really turn it into a proper CRM tool where we're using it to manage prospects, engage customers, and obviously retain customers through a structured journey, I guess, and ensuring that we provide them with the information that they need. More than anything, though, it's about us understanding the right products for the right customers, and us to continue to deliver excellence in customer service. That's always been a real focus for us.